Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Piqued, a meetup for electronic musicians. I am your host, Corey Luna. On AV is Rich Hogben, and tonight we feature midiscripts and Paul Olive. Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Doing great.
Andre, Paul, it's so good to have you guys on the show tonight, and I want to say hello again to everyone watching at home tonight. We've got a wonderful show lined up. Both of our artists have prepared sets for you tonight. Tonight we're going to we're going to start with Paul and Olive, and then we're going to go into midiscripts. Well, there'll be a brief intermission between sets, and then after both sets, we'll go directly into our Q&A session with our artists. And of course, please ask us questions with every artist on YouTube chat and also on Twitch. I believe we're also on there as well. Any questions you ask, I'll make sure to get those asked to our artists, and we'll have a good time. So, if we're all ready, let's start out tonight with Paul and Olive.
More samples. Drums. Art. Drop it out.
Yep.
Switch sequences. Hey, we're recording. Go without that sequence. Start dropping it out.
That's not one.
Hold that G.
Maybe
try looking at life through other people's eyes.
Well, maybe. I guess. So this is how it ends. Not with a whimper, but a bang. I'll have a half smile on my face, and trembling, shaking hands. Disaster and death are steadily approaching, she said.
You could use some mindfulness coaching.
Society's total collapse keeps encroaching. She smiled and said,
That's the whole reason for voting.
taking hands on the doomsday clock. It's 11:59 and I'm frozen in shock.
So this is how it ends. Not with a whimper, but a bang. I'll have a half smile on my face, and a trembling, shaking hands. This is how it ends. Not with a whimper, but a bang. I'll have a half smile on my face, and trembling, shaking hands. This is how it ends. Not with a whimper, but a bang. I'll have a half smile on my face, and trembling, shaking hands. This is how it ends. Not with a whimper, but a bang. I'll have a half smile on my face, and trembling, shaking hands.
All right. Paul M. Olive, everyone. And Marie and Hedonia. How cool was that? Paul, tell us what's the band camp that you and Marie have?
So the band camp, it's called Paul and Marie's Country Kitchen.
Paul and Marie's Country Kitchen.
Yes.
Very nice. Very cool. And everyone listening, we did have a little technical difficulty, as you saw in a little chat, with the first track from Paul, but the other two, of course, sounded great. We're for later on when we repost this for YouTube to be rewatched, we're gonna get the correct audio from Paul and get that set up. But Paul, I want to thank you very much. That was excellent. A lot of fun, man. Looks like you guys had a great time doing that. And we're gonna ask some more questions about that later on. And now let's go on over to MIDI scripts. And Rich, go ahead and let's watch some MIDI scripts. All right. Thank you very much, midiscripts. That was a wonderful set. And Andre, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Paul, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Guys, I want to thank you both very much for coming on to Peak tonight and sharing your music with us. It was really wonderful tonight.
Thank you for putting this on.
Yeah, thank you, Corey.
Yeah, and and
And Richard.
thank you for wearing that Metallica T-shirt. It's quite cool.
I'm glad somebody likes it.
I mean, it reminds me of junior high school. It's pretty great.
I think Metallica is cool every few years, and then they become passe, and people don't like them. Then they become cool again.
Well, I've got a special place in my heart for them. They're always fun to me.
Same.
But I want to thank again, guys. And it was really great. We had some great music coming out from Paul with some hard, synths going on, and then we cooled down with some beautiful, soft tones from midiscripts, and it was a great balance between the two. I always love trying to put together different artists where we have that dynamic, where we have some energy that's really high, and then some low energy that kind of cools us down. And sometimes it's kind of it's kind of fun to put them in different places where we have high energy first, low energy second, and vice versa. And I think it went out really nice tonight. It's a great set for September.
Thank you. I think
Thank you.
We'll have the one with direct audio sent to you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. And we've got some questions for you tonight. So for the both of you, I'm going to ask you some questions back and forth. So I'd like to ask, starting out, tell us about your setup tonight. Andre, tell us about the setup you have for us that you performed tonight.
Yeah, so basically everything runs on Ableton Live. And I have two synthesizers, which I play usually live. It's a model electronic sculpt, like a little one near the push on the right, and Korg Monologue. Also, I have a controller that I use a lot for the live effects, especially for delays, reverbs, for changing filters, phrasers, all those things. And I also kind of like have a hands-on control there, so I can in real time manipulate kind of like main aspects of drums, which is kick, snare, hats. I have a set of like predefined delays. A lot of them like filtered ping pong delays, but some of them are more like a combination of reverb and delay. And that's how I jam as well. I basically jam the same way, and I'm doing a lot of custom sound design on a synths. Also, there is I use a lot of software synths as well. Ableton Wavestate, Ableton Analog, Serum sometimes, and so on. This list is quite long. Yeah, and also I have this controller called MIDI Fighter Twister, which is has I can actually show it. It has this kind of a special little of a cover on it that you see here. I don't know if the camera sees it. There's like it tells me the parameters that I can modify in real time. So I have this interchangeable thing that I can put on the controller and kind of have a no screen hands-free experience.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and which is kind of like just a little 3D printed cover for it. Yeah, and that's my setup in general.
Very cool. Thank you, Andre. And Paul, tell us about your setup tonight
Ooh,
over the three sets. You know.
yeah. So the there's a lot that's off camera, which is unfortunate. We just don't have the space or a big panoramic lens to see everything. There's a couple of cases of Eurorack gear, and we use a lot of the noise engineering modules. The Basimilis is always like the kick drum that you hear. It's a wonderful module, and it's a shame we always relegate it to being the kick drum, but it's just such a good kick drum.
Nice.
And then some of the Erica Synths drum modules. So the Eurorack is almost always providing the drums and percussion. You saw really prominently in Maria's video the ARP 2600. So the ARP was kind of featured in all of those tracks.
Cool.
So, and up here I've got the Nonlinear Labs C15. When I guess when you repost this with the direct audio, again, apologies for that. This is making that really brassy, like Hans Zimmer like orchestral
Oh, nice.
sound in the first track, and got a Prophet 10 here. So there's a combination of pre-programmed synthesizers where it's just you're pressing play and it's already programmed in, with live playing over top of it. So the first performance was just kind of getting patches set up in the Eurorack, getting a patch going, and then this chord progression with the C15 and the ARP 2600. The Prophet 10 was just making a bunch of weird kind of noises, kind of amusical textures.
Very cool.
The song, so we have a new project coming out called Mismatched Lids. So that's the name of our group. It's Marie, Liv, who isn't here for the interview but she was in the performance, and myself, and it's more of like a synth pop group. So that performance was, let's just call it like a Kiss live album live. There to enhance the sound a bit, it was mastered through some manly gear. I put some of the multi-track stuff on there that was already recorded. But so we had live vocals, we had live percussion. You hear the sequence being sent out to the ARP. So there's a lot going on in that particular track, and Marie's was another, just a mix of all the Eurorack and with these synths.
Very cool, man. And we've actually got a question from your wife. What are your favorite synthesizers? And Andre, tell us, what are your favorite synthesizers? And this can be, what's in your collection, or it could be something you don't even own.
Yeah, from the collection that I don't open, that list is too long. I love all of the synthesizers that I don't own yet. I like Korg Monologue a lot. I think it's quite versatile synth. It has I like that it's basically control per function. So there is zero menus. It just sounds great. It's very simple, monosense. But there is a lot of sweet spots, and it's amazing. I really love it. It's quite versatile. Yeah.
Very cool. And Paul, what are your favorite synths?
Ooh. I just don't think there's any beating the Prophet 10.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome synth.
It's just the sound.
Cool. Are you doing a lot of samples on that one?
Samples? Like how so?
Well, just because the Prophet 10 was designed so that you could do samples within it, but it's not necessarily that, but it was just one of those options you can do with it.
Oh, I guess not. Just I mean, we've got some patches we've made ourselves. It's one of those synths where the factory patches are surprisingly pretty good. Just preset 111, where it's just 2 saw waves and an open cutoff filter, is a great starting point.
Oh, very cool.
I would say that's probably my favorite. One synth that I kick myself to this day for letting it get away was a Voyager XL. I feel like the world's biggest idiot for getting rid of that. But, we've got some good things in its place. I think if I could get one back, it would be the Voyager, but the 2600 is amazing. And I guess off camera, you saw it in the first video, we have a Sequential Pro 3, which is it's a techno and industrial monster. Best sequencer I've ever used on a synth.
Okay, very cool. Excellent. And our next question for you, for the both of you, are how did you prepare for your sets tonight? Like when I asked you to do a set for Piqued, what did you think about? Andre, what did you think about when I asked you to perform for Piqued?
Well, yeah, I was really excited. It's a great opportunity for me to play at Piqued. Thank you very much, Corey. And Richard. Yeah, I basically I usually what I do is I set up a camera and I'm connecting it to my. I have like a big TV in my room here, and so I can see myself. I see what camera is producing, right? So at the same time, when I'm playing, I can see what it's actually recording. And I'm recording a master plus multi-track from the audio interface, and I'm practicing maybe for some amount of time, sometimes maybe an hour, maybe 2, maybe even more. It depends on the complexity of how much. There is always an infinite complexities you can put in any performance. But I'm trying to kind of like balance between making it kind of engaging, but at the same time reasonable. And and after that, I'm just click a record button and record a couple of takes. Take that one that I like and share it. And I usually and I also set up some lights and stuff, which is kind of like add some fun to the performance.
That was a very nice light. We love that was illuminating and changing colors. You said I like that very much.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this I have this kind of a ball that has ability to change colors, which is kind of amazing. I owned it for many years, and it's very it's great, especially when it's darker. It's kind of like it adds this vibe to it. And I'm usually trying to concentrate a lot during performance on actual music, like just basically my approach is I'm trying to make it like non-repetitive as possible. As like I constantly tweak a little bit here, a little bit there, turn off something, turn on something. I know the parts and kind of like do a lot of kind of like a dub style kind of delays, with the when you turn off the main source and just give a feedback for a long time, so it can give more of an atmosphere into the track and so on. So I'm kind of like a dub in my own track in a way, how you would do it on a mix console. That's roughly what it is.
Well, thank you. And Paul, how did you prepare for your set for Piqued?
Oh, I really wanted to do something that I thought was a good showcase of the music that I'm a part of. And so at first it was a lot of like, dare I say, overthinking. It was like, what, how do I, how do I showcase what we do best? And we were going to set up outside. Oh God, dragging all this stuff like out back and having somebody film it. And so, but it was trying to figure out really what would showcase the music that I'm a part of. So on our Bandcamp, we have Marie, who's a solo electronic artist. And then we've got a couple of projects that are on the way. We have Mismatched Lids, which is like a synth pop group. And then my other project, Operation Bingo, which is more like industrial, a little bit more of that like basement grime kind of sound. So I wanted to provide like a few different looks for Piqued. So getting everything set up, it was really a matter of trying to figure out what will show off like our strengths best. From the technical standpoint, the first performance was definitely making sure things are clocked together. Like there was no real master clock. So it took a long time to get the arpeggiator on the 2600 synced up with the drums and synced up with the Pro 3 sequencer. I had to do that by ear because so a lot of like a lot of that. Just getting everything clocked up because it was all done analog. With the Mismatched Lids video, Liv is such an amazing singer. She just rolled in, sang. We did like 2 takes, and she rolled right out. So for that, it was just getting all the lighting right and getting the few basic live tracks set up, and then going in afterwards and cleaning up the performance so it doesn't have that boomy room sound.
Oh, very cool. Very nice. Thank you. And our next question, and I'd like to know about your musical background. So tell us about how you got into playing music and how you got into playing electronic music specifically. Andre, please.
Yeah, I actually, before my journey to the United States, I participated in some kind of a musical projects in Europe as well. So I usually did some. I was interested in a mixing part of it, and didn't really play music myself. So, but I had a lot of friends who played in bands, especially local rock and punk bands that always want to play, and I had a lot of friends who were musicians, and kind of like provided them some services of like mixing music for them, recording, with some success, and sometimes it was not really good. Also, so I traveled with some bands to the festivals. I was their sound guy, kind of tried to help them on a stage and a little bit, and those kind of things. So mostly from the mixing part. I did a couple of remixes for a couple of tracks that were popular at the time, but that's it. But after I moved to the United States, I started to play music a little bit more. I was actually a heavy listener, kind of like of music all the time. Usually from my family influence. My dad plays guitar, and he was like a huge fan of. He's a huge fan of old school rock bands like Pink Floyd, Soft Machine, Led Zeppelin, and so on. So yeah, I was aware of classics from a young age, from 14 years old. Uh, and when I moved to United States, I started to play a couple of acoustic instruments. I played a percussion drum in one band, and also played a flute. And kind of like was interested in doing some ambient music specifically. So I was a huge fan of ambient music and was exploring that a lot. And but after that, I was like interested. Like I tried myself to play a little bit of electronic and do music myself. So bought a couple of synths and the software and gave it a try, and kind of like I liked it and started to develop. And I still play some flute right now. I post from time to time to my Instagram those videos, when I have like a flute, so I can play it live, which is quite fun. The main influences for me, I like down tempo chill stuff, which is probably kind of you can hear
Nice.
from my sound. It's hard to really pick some specific. I was traveling between festivals a lot, listening from everything to like trip hop to punk, and like after that from like from electronics, everything from ambientish carbon life forms to dub techno. So it's hard to really pick a specific band or a style that I would. Right now I'm listening to mostly a lot of ambient and a lot of techno. But that's for right now. I don't know what will happen in a year. That's a journey. So yeah, that's roughly my influences.
Well, very good, Andrew. Thank you very much. And Paul, tell us about your musical background. What got you into playing electronic music?
Well, I started off as far away from electronic music as possible. I played the baritone horn and the tuba, and I have a background in orchestral music. In college, a few years of music theory, like actually writing scores in college, and then kind of getting really, really into rock music. And I think my style and what I've loved, even in like classical and orchestral, has always been that, like ba ba da ba 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 ba, that real like kind of
Wagner.
loud. Yeah, Wagner. Big into Wagner. And then going over into like rock music, stuff that's kind of intense and on the louder side of things. Started playing guitar maybe in like 11th grade. Got my first electric after I graduated high school. So it was a long period of just kind of guitar, playing in various rock bands, metal bands, dad rock cover bands, progressive rock bands, neo soul and R&B. Just saying, anybody who needed somebody who knew how to play chords. Electronic music is something that I got into because my pedal board was getting huge, and I was buying pedals to try to sound like synthesizers. So I was starting to get all these Eventide and Digitech effects to sound like a synthesizer. And one day I said, this ain't working. Why don't I just get a real synthesizer?
Mm-hmm.
So I took a Telecaster over to Guitar Center and got about enough to get a Sub 37.
Oh.
So that was kind of my first real synth. It was pretty much a 1-to-1 trade.
It's a good Moog.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this thing can only play 2 notes at a time. I need something to play chords. And within a couple weeks, had a Prophet 8.
Cool.
I still didn't really understand how to use sequencers. And when I listened to electronic music, I thought that these people were just genius keyboardists. I didn't know about arpeggiators and sequencers. So I thought that these people were playing like, you know. So when I finally learned how to program these synths and get them working together and get them communicating, I started making my own music. I think, I don't know, just to be straight up, 9 Inch Nails is kind of the big, you know, like 9 Inch Nails, Depeche Mode.
Cool.
My 2 favorites, Ministry, Skinny Puppy, KMFDM.
Mm-hmm.
But then, going back into the more classic period, like Kraftwerk, Yellow Magic Orchestra,
Nice.
Jean-Michel Jarre,
Mm-hmm.
Oxygen. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. Probably Americanizing the hell out of that. But so a lot of that kind of electronic. It's always kind of like a rock kind of slant on it. I never really got too much into dance music. That's been more like the past few years, because it's a challenge. It's something I've never done before.
Sure. Yeah, especially as you said, you coming from more of that metal and industrial sound background that you like.
Yeah, and trying to merge a lot of influences together, like what my guitar style is I love Jerry Cantrell, so like Alice in Chains. I love Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
So how can I take those sounds and put them into electronic music and make them fit together? So I'm always trying to kind of rise up to that challenge of marrying these different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more like the Operation Bingo project. Like that's kind of my Joy Division, whereas Mismatched Lids is kind of my New Order. I just get to have them at the same time.
Oh, all right, very cool, man. Well, thank you, Paul. And let's skip over to Andre. And since we've heard some of the influences of the music heroes from Paul, Andre, tell us about some of your musical influences. What bands and musicians have influenced you over the years?
Yeah. I am a big fan of the Carbon Lifeforms. I don't know if you guys know this band. It's a electronic ambientish down tempo band, which I love a lot. I love a British band called Plaid, which is probably a little bit less known. If you never check them out, they're amazing. They do a lot of experimental, at some point microtonal, and non like a polyrhythmic music. There's a lot of amazing sound design. They wrote a bunch of great soundtracks for different animations. And yeah, so this is I love that. I love the band.
That's a great reference. Sorry, Andre. Just for a sec. That's a great reference. Just because I've never listened to Plaid, but I know of them because I read about them in a book called Good Vibrations by Mark Cunningham that was published in 1996.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I've read about them, but I haven't heard them personally. So thank you for mentioning them. That's very cool.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I definitely recommend them. Like they're amazing. I really like everything that there is an old band, The Orb, and this band, that one of the prominent members of this band is Greg Marsh, and he, as far as I remember his last name, he did a couple of amazing things. Like he has a bunch of projects. One of them, Wave Shaper. I love them. They do like a down tempo, a lot of great sound design, dubbish music. Quite engaging. I would say I love that. Yeah, those kind of like they influenced me a lot over the last years. Um, yeah, I've been actually listening to a lot of techno music as well. You know, classics of dub techno like Yagya, for example. Those like old producers, old techno producers, which I love a lot right now. Um, yeah, those kind of a couple to name a few. I have, by the way, a Bandcamp account under the same name, and I usually buy a lot of stuff. I spend on music like a lot, sometimes even too much, and I have even bigger wish list. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of like uh, follow if some people kind of interested and follow each other to see what people are listening to, kind of exploring and happy to share. It's like it's interesting to see what kind of explore what other people are doing uh, and what they listen to, what kind of music they explore. And yeah, I usually I follow a lot of labels, like labels that I like. So I'm gonna just go into Bandcamp and just follow some labels and see their releases, listen to them. And I was also DJing a little bit, so it was also a part of it. When you DJ, you kind of listen to all of the new releases from the stuff that you're about to DJ.
Yes.
So that's what you do, right? That's kind of a job.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of that. That's a part of the everyday routine. Kind of explore some new music and put it into your player and enjoy it during the walk or in the car.
Very cool, man. And I'd like to know what influences how you write music. Like what besides the music that you listen to that influences your music, what influences your music outside of listening to everything else? Like are there elements of your life that influence how you write music? Paul, how do you feel about that?
Ooh, so that's an amazing question. That's an amazing question. Well, I work in mental health. So I hear tragedy all day long and come home and write music. You get to hear some pretty intense, sometimes pretty sad stories from folks. And as somebody who works as a in that clinical field, gets you thinking about people. So when I was writing the song that was in the video, it was called Half Smile. Anybody who's maybe received like dialectical behavior therapy, half smile is this kind of technique where you're feeling kind of anxious, maybe angry, maybe depressed, negative emotions on the inside. So you kind of the idea of the half smile is that it's kind of like faking it till you make it in a therapeutic sense. So I'm thinking of folks who have these legitimate concerns about their own lives and about the world around them. And sometimes as a clinical worker, it feels kind of inadequate to tell people like, well, do your breathing exercises, do your half smile, do use your coping skills. So the song I wrote was kind of about that. It was about being being a clinical worker in a world full of disarray. There's a lot of unrest. I mean, I could go on and on about that. I won't, but trying to work in that field, and the best you have for folks is, use your coping skills, go count to 10, go take a walk around the block, and knowing that that's not going to make the situation better. So the lyrics from that song come from that perspective. I think the musically, I don't know, I just kind of have a sound in my head. I could be having the best day or having the worst day, and it's just that's the music that kind of flows out of me. But the subject matter is very influenced by my world.
Wow, that's very heavy, Paul. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I didn't realize how heavy that was. But
That was very heavy. Yeah.
it gives you some insight into the song we just listened to.
Sure. It just kind of reminds me of a friend of mine. His wife works in is a social worker, and works with underprivileged families, and he's told me some stories, and it reminds me of what you have spoken about today.
Yes.
Children who have abusive parents, or women who have abusive relationships. It's very traumatizing, and it's traumatizing for those people. It's also traumatizing to hear those stories if you're not used to, if you don't know about those things. So there's you're affected, even if you're not directly affected, you're still affected just from hearing about it.
Yeah, and I explore a lot of angles around that. There you get your own sense of, when you've done it for years, you get a sense of some, in the field they call it compassion fatigue, basically cynicism. You explore that, you explore the compassion, you explore the outrage you have in wanting to help these folks. And that comes out in various projects. Operation Bingo has a lot of political commentary. The track that represents Operation Bingo that was on the Piqued performance was instrumental. That's kind of something in the making. But the songs with lyrics are very, very politically charged. Coming from the perspective of, you nailed it, a clinical social worker.
Well, thank you, Paul. And let's go over to Andre. Andre, tell us about what influences your music outside of listening to other music.
Yeah, I mean, I like. I think the most influential kind of aspect that influenced me the most is probably just listening to the natural world. Like, it's like I have a lot of experiences in my life when I just sit and listen, and just like to everything that happens around me, and not trying to make any sense of it, even if there are words, or it's just everything just becomes like a sound, and that's kind of like probably the most influential thing. Also, I like a lot to explore. I'm much into the physics, cosmology, and space in general, space science, and like I watch a lot of videos about that, and like read books, and I'm influenced by that as well, about uh, like cosmology, space, kind of different theories about universe, those kind of things. This kind of like influences me a lot. Yeah, and I think also playing acoustic instrument influences us a lot as well. It's like I remember I had an amazing experience in one of the canyons in Sedona in Arizona, and it has like a natural echo. that it produces. So whatever the sound you make there, there's like a real kind of delay there, but it's organic, so if you play any instrument there, guitar or flute or anything, pretty much, it sounds just from another world. Yeah, if you never played an instrument in Canyon, give it a try. It's an interesting experience. You may be surprised.
That's a great suggestion. There's some great people out in Arizona I know, like Data Cult Audio, Gelatonin, and her partner Jorge, who do Inner Freak podcast, and and I know, and they're all out in Tucson, Arizona area, and I know that they're doing some amazing work out there. I don't know if they've done anything specifically where they're out in doing natural reverb in a canyon, but maybe there's something they could do. Who knows? That's a great idea, man. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's quite amazing. Yeah, it's an interesting. If you never did it, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
It's a somewhat a conversation with nature,
you got a
in a
great.
way.
It's a great perspective, and I love it very much. I grew up in a Marin County, and and that's a very wooded area. There's a lot of great trails to go hiking on, and just experience and enjoy nature for what it is. Nothing as grand as Arizona, of course, but it's a very different, more hills and mountains and lots of trees, things like that, and creek beds to run around in, which is very fun. But again, like it's a wonderful experience, and you always, and to me, I resonate with that because there's always something that kind of grounds you and always inspires in a very positive way with nature.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. And we've got a question actually specifically for Paul from our friend Evan Buswell, who is New Systems Instruments. If you haven't checked out his modules, you should. They're pretty awesome. He just went to NobCon, by the way. Now, Paul, New Systems Instruments asks this question: how do you go about collaborating? Do you have a collaboration structure? Seems pretty organized. How do you feel
Ooh.
about
Collaborating. That's the first time anybody's ever asked me. I I think that a lot of the collaborations that, like, the collaborations you got to see tonight were just because Marie and I live in the same house. And Liv is a friend of ours who has experience with theater productions. We know her really well. So she's like a phone call away. In terms of collaboration outside of our inner circle of theater geeks and music nerds, I don't really have a whole lot of, I guess, organizational structure. I mean, if someone's looking to collaborate, if they like what they hear on our Bandcamp or our Instagrams, hit one of us up if you've got an idea. I love the idea of kind of having different minds and trying to amalgamate that into something that's new and different.
it?
I know that might not have answered the question exactly, but if you find me on Instagram, we can talk about it further.
I think that suffices quite well. That you've had some collaborations mostly with your domestic partner, but also with someone outside who is a close friend, and that makes sense. Pretty
Yes,
realistic.
and there's possibly something else on the horizon that's kind of like a heavy rock project, but that might little ways down the road. I think we've bitten off almost more than we can chew, trying to launch 3 different projects in the next few months. Marie has her amazing album, The Inevitable Collapse. If you haven't heard it, please go check it out on Bandcamp. It's all her. All I did was the mixing on the album. So what she produces is a lot different than what I produce. So if you're looking for song kind of collaborations, I think that's more my strength. For more instrumental, dance-oriented, hard techno, or even abstract electronic music, Marie is the expert with that.
Thank you. And Paul, where can we tell us again? Where can we find all the music that you and Marie produce?
So, it'll be the Bandcamp page, Paul and Marie's Country Kitchen, at Bandcamp. Very soon, Marie's music will be on major streaming platforms. We'll announce that when we know, when everything's approved. So Marie's music will be on Spotify and Apple and all those good platforms that everybody uses. We were a little late to that. Mismatched Lids, that EP is 4 tracks, songs written and produced by myself and Marie, and that will be dropping really early in November. So there will be more to come for that. And the Operation Bingo relaunch will be, I'm going to say, probably in December. We're going to rework one of the singles and get that out there. So we've got Marie's project that came out in August, Mismatched Lids, and Operation Bingo coming out by the end of the year.
That's very ambitious, but very good. Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
And Andre, tell us about where can we find your music, and when can we expect some new releases?
Yeah, I'm usually releasing tracks once they're finished into SoundCloud. I also plan to combine a couple of maybe new things that I have into a release on Bandcamp. But that's for the future. Right now, I'm mostly kind of like I'm working on something and I'm releasing it, and I have a quite well. I try to make it active. I have a quite active Instagram account when I'm posting like a little bit of inspirational videos here and there of different um, pieces of sound design or ideas or something that I liked. Or just experimental stuff, in terms of music, or some just atmospheric little videos, with the ambient pad and a short video of that I liked. So yeah, so mostly SoundCloud and Instagram, and hopefully Bandcamp in the future.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you very much, Andre and Paul. Paul, I was curious about how to pronounce your name. Is it Palmolive, or am I saying that wrong?
You are saying that correct. So, are you a punk fan?
I grew up listening to punk, and I also enjoy palm olive soap.
Yeah. So yeah, if like you had these punk pseudonyms, like you had polystyrene.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a take on those old punk pseudonyms, Paul Molive, like like the soap, and the I actually think the drummer from the Slits called herself Paul Molive is like one word. So I guess I'm kind of my kind of stage name pseudonym is kind of the male counterpart.
Very cool. I like it very much.
Nice. It's so creative. Great.
Yeah. So we our names are very much kind of a throwback to the spirit of those old punk pseudonyms.
Speaking of names, Andre, how did you come up with midiscripts? It's a really nice name.
I actually I owned the domain midiscripts.net
Cool.
and I started to actually I started that domain with the intention of actually creating scripts for Ableton Live.
Ah,
And just to cover some of the functionality that they don't have, but I wanted to do, and just share it with people. For example, I made a little script that gives ability for do a session view for one of the APC controllers. And just share it for free. Uh, but after that, I was thinking that it's an interesting kind of also a name for the artist, which is kind of like it has a little bit of a technical aspect from it, but at the same time, I think it's fun. So that's kind of why I've chosen it.
that's very nice. Thank you. I love that. That's great. And I was curious about, hey, Paul, in Baltimore, are you guys going out and doing any live performances at all? Is that happening anywhere nearby or in neighboring areas?
Marie did did a show back in the end of July in this dive bar downtown, and it had amazing energy. It was like the kind of place you would expect to go see like a metal band or a punk band. It stunk. The floors were sticky, like, but it had this amazing energy to it. So she did that back in July. She had a gig at the Modular on the Mall, which is
DC.
yeah, the DC. So she
Very
was
cool.
at the inaugural Modular on the Mall.
Yeah, with John O'Wells.
Yeah, with Jono. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, with John O'Wells. Which, that was, you don't realize how big that monument is till you're like in it. It was really cool. She did a show. I don't remember who put it on. It was near DC just this past weekend. It was at the Brentwood. Oh man, I don't remember who put it on. I'm sorry. It was like the Brentwood Arts. And she was one of the featured performers. Right now, the Mismatched Lids or Operation Bingo projects, we don't have anything live quite yet. Trying to do that live would be pretty difficult. But Marie has been playing live in everywhere from dive bars to the war memorials.
Wow.
And she should have something coming up in October. I'll defer to her and her Instagram for when she can announce something like that and the details of it, because I don't think they're fully ironed out yet. But she should have something in about a month on another live venue.
All right, very cool. Thank you. And Andre, have you been performing live at all over the past few months, or have you gone out to any shows?
Yeah, I've been DJing and kind of performing as a producer. It was kind of like a combination of DJing and performance in an art space called Sizigi in San Francisco.
Oh,
Yeah, it's quite a nice place, amazing space. Also, many times in open mic, the resident open mic. A lot of times, actually. Thank you, Frank, for organizing that. He's here probably with us.
yes. Frank Martin is watching.
Yeah, that was my recent gigs. Actually, I don't really have anything for the future, but hopefully, the COVID will soon go into the decline state, and we can all gig and play way more.
Yeah, and Resident has been that's been all virtual online still, right?
Yes, the resident was online. Hopefully it will go back into the great space that we had at the laundry, which was an amazing experience and a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Andre, I
Oh,
know that you and I have performed there together over the years, over the past maybe 2 or 3 years, and it's always a great space. It's a wonderful space. I really hope it does come back. It's for those of you who haven't been there. The laundry is a wonderful actual it's a cafe with huge spaces behind the cafe and underground, and for resident we always performed underground, so we played live, we played loud, and if you're not inside there on but on the street level you don't hear it at all. It's pretty amazing. And
yeah, it's an amazing space. Yeah, it has also a great energy, and there are so many musicians played there over the years, which kind of created this atmosphere. I feel like.
That's right. And we've had a lot of varieties of different electronic musicians come out there and do different styles, which has been a lot of fun. Where because it's always been an open mic, anyone can come and play. Whatever they want to do. So we've had a lot of varieties of people come in doing their own thing. Some people do it once, never come back. And then there's a lot of us who have continued to come back and perform again and again, and I'm really happy that Resident has been able to do the virtual shows. Thanks very much to Frank Martin for continuing to do that, and of course, Fets has been a big part of doing the visuals as well, which is always really fun. And there's been many other people who were part of that, you know, before and continuing to continue to make can allowing that space to still be something where musicians can come together and video artists can come together and produce beautiful music and beautiful video at the same time.
Yeah, the video part is always so special. There is it really is like the video is like a show by itself.
Oh yeah.
You can enjoy you can sometimes you kind of like you really it's like there is a lot of creativity and work invested into the video part, and it's amazing when you play your stuff and your tracks, and some kind of another person collaborates with you on the video part, and it's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, there's been some really great video artists that have come through there. I can't remember all of them, unfortunately. It's been a little too long since I've seen them, unfortunately, which is, I just can't remember them all. I can I remember their visuals, what they were doing. I can't remember all their names. It's kind of unfortunate, but of course I'll remember after broadcasting. I'll remember tonight when I'm going to bed. I'll remember them. I'll remember their names. I'll just shoot out of bed and go, oh, that's who it was. And if you guys are watching, please chime in. If you're it's and or Frank or maybe Malarkey, if you guys know those guys' names, or even Justin, you were there too, man. Um, please refresh my memory. I can't remember everybody's names right now. But there was so many great performers, great video artists. It's really great. And Andre, I don't know if you got a chance to go out 2 weeks ago when we did a show at the of six of us. I guess I should say eight of us.
Yeah, at the gray area, right?
On the gray area. Were you there?
And unfortunately, no, I was out of town the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was not able to make it, but I watched the Frank shared the video, which is yeah great.
Oh, good. Yeah. So those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, there's a wonderful theater in San Francisco called the Gray Area Grand Theater on Mission Street, and they have. If you couldn't go to the show, they actually had a live stream for their those who subscribe to the Gray Area Grand Theater. They did a video live stream of the whole show where there was 6 audio performers, myself included, and two video artists. It was Dirty Bill and Kit Young, who's also, you can find him on Instagram under Video Active Avocado. I think it is. I keep messing it up, but I think it's Video Active in Avocado. I think it's that. Anyway, they're great, excellent video performers right there. And they switched off, so it was three. They did three audio performers per video artist. So Kit Young did my set, and it was wonderful. He did Malarkey's set, and Dirty Bill did 3 sets, like Frank Martin's set, which is great. And we had excellent people performing there, like Musical Fungus, All Electric Kitchen, Alpha Stare, which is great. And we had who else am I missing? Is that everybody? I must be missing someone. If I am, I'm sorry. There's somebody I'm missing. I know I'm missing somebody. But it was a fantastic night. We had a great for COVID time. It was a pretty good turnout. There's about 45 people that actually showed up to the show, although we sold more tickets than that. But a lot of people were virtual, watching the show. So it was great because people were able to, make space for everyone. Everyone was respectful about the space. Everyone wore masks, which is great. Rich came out, which is awesome because he relocated. He's no longer in San Francisco, but he made it to the show anyway. And Rich, thanks again for coming out, man. It was great to see you there and to hang out with you afterwards, man. It's always a good time hanging out with Rich. And yes, Malarkey is reminding me that Kizzle performed. Who's that guy? I don't know. He's somewhere.
I feel like I know him.
You might, yes. And Frank says, see Left Coast Lights on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn for a quick summary of the show. So if you didn't get a chance to see the show, please check out those places on Instagram. There's a lot of clips from the Left Coast Lights Eclectic Trips Festival that we performed at the Gray Area that you can check out on Instagram. Not everything's up there, of course, because we have to pay respects to the theater who hosts us, of course, and make sure that their stream is prioritized. So we didn't, we're not going to, post everything, of course. And Malarkey says, and by attendance, of course. Yes, thank you. So it was a fun time, and just like tonight, this was a great time for midiscripts and Palmolive. You guys are great tonight. I'm so happy to have you on Piqued. Andre, it's been too long since I've seen you, and I hope I can get a chance to hang out and maybe do a jam again sometime, man. It's been too long since I've seen you. Paul,
Yeah, I'm always ready to jam. Yes, if folks are, I usually very open to the jamming with other people. It can be as simple as simple setup, or go somewhere and hang out and jam. For example, I jammed a lot with one of the members of Open Mic as well, with Manifold Theory. It was a great experience. So yeah, I'm also always open for jamming, and I'm excited to happy to jam with you, Kari. Let's do it. Let's do it again. It's amazing.
Please. Yeah, you've been to my home studio here, which it's changed a little bit since you've been here, but it's still here, man. Let's do something real soon. And Paul, thank you again, man, for coming on. It's great to have you on since we had your wife on before, Maria and Hadonia, who did a great performance earlier this year. And again, man, you did a great performance for us here tonight. And thanks again for doing it. It was really fun. I love seeing the different collaborations of musical styles you're doing out there, man. It's really fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Amazing performance. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Your set was beautiful.
Thanks.
And Frank Martin mentioned we had from at the Gray Area Grand Theater for the Left Coast Lights Eclectic Trips Festival, we had about 14 local artists that we showcased their music in between everybody's sets. So although they weren't there, we actually had their music playing in between sets, so that there was, within those intermissions between the performers, we always had local artist music playing within the Grand Air Great Theater. And that was, again, a wonderful contribution from the collective that we've of friends and collaborators that we've come to know and love over the past couple of years, and right here in the Bay Area. And some of those performers don't even live in the Bay Area anymore. Some have gone uh, to Pennsylvania or and Montreal. So and that's one of the wonderful things about our time, is that although COVID has prevented us all from getting together and doing a lot of things, we are still able to get together and do things like what we are right now for Peaked, getting together, sharing our music and performances and the experiences that we have. And as we get close to the 9 p.m. clock over here, although it's probably much later for you, Paul, I apologize for keeping you up late. I hope I hope you're a night owl. Um, if you have to work tomorrow morning, I'm sorry for keeping you up so late. But again, I really appreciate you guys for coming out and hanging out with us tonight, and answering my questions and doing performances with the videos tonight. It was a lot of fun. You guys are great musicians, and it was really fun. And it's always amazing to see what different artists are going to do, because no artist is the same. Everyone has a different story, and it's really wonderful that you came out and shared those stories with us tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's always worth staying up late for music.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you, Corey and Richard for organizing Picked. Amazing opportunity for all of us to perform and hang out. Yeah, there's a lot of work invested into organization, so I highly appreciate it, and I think Paul as well. Thank you for that.
Of course. And Peaked is always there to showcase the musicians and the artists out there. That's what Peaked is about, is to just get more exposure for those artists who are at home and or not at home, but those of us who are or just not, maybe don't have not enough exposure, or some who do have plenty of exposure. We're always happy to showcase people who are doing unique things with music and video, of course, because we love the video art. We love the video artists so much, and we need more of those video artists out there. It's something that back in 2019, when I was doing a podcast, I didn't get a chance to talk to the video artists who were doing modular video enough, and that's something that I want to get more into. Excuse me, on Peaked, is those video artists, and we need more of those video artists to be on Peaked. So I think in the future, coming up into maybe 2022, we're gonna have more of those video artists coming up. And are there any ending comments from you, Andre, or Paul, you would like to say before we head off tonight? We're almost at the 2 hour mark. Is there anything you two would like to plug that you have coming up?
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody who joined us today in the YouTube chat. It was always a great opportunity to see everybody and hang out and listen to the music and have some fun time together. Thanks.
Yes, sir. And Paul, anything?
Yeah, I share the same sentiment. Thank you for having me, and thank you for watching and listening. I'll plug the band camp again. Paul and Marie's Country Kitchen. Right now we've got a whole lot of Marie's music, and then more projects and collaborations on the way this year. So if you like hard, nasty industrial music, we got you. If you like synth pop, we also got you. So just stay tuned. We've got more on the horizon.
Excellent. Paul and Andre, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for joining Peak tonight. And if you haven't watched, if you haven't checked out Resident Frequencies, please check them out. They're great. They started doing live shows again a couple months ago. They got another show coming up in Oakland, California pretty soon. Resident, of course, is a monthly event here in the Bay Area. Still virtual, hasn't gone back to a physical event yet. Peak will forever now be a virtual event. We don't have a physical space anymore, as I mentioned earlier a couple months ago. And there's some other great things going on throughout the Bay Area and throughout the world, of course. Like, Module on the Spot. There's a new Module on the Spot in Napa, California, that my friend Clark Harding started recently, and he just did his first one, I think, early last month. And I hope that went really well. I really hope that Clark's going to do that again. And of course, Paul, you said you guys went to, was it Modular on the Mall in DC? That's fantastic. Like, that was such a cool event to hear about. Unfortunately, I haven't been to it, of course, but I'm always happy to watch the videos. That was so cool.
It was fun.
So we're about at our 2-hour mark. So I want to say thank you, Andre. Thank you, Paul. I'm Olive. You guys are great. And everyone for watching tonight, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It's really wonderful to always see all the chats that goes on, and to be part of that is really great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. Please stay home and stay safe. Good night. All right. That was good, guys. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Great night. Thank you for preparations, and thank you for hosting us. Great opportunity. Let's keep in touch.
Please do, guys. Yeah, it's so much fun to have you guys on. It's always a lot of fun. Like, Peaked is like one of the best things I've done over the past 2 years. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've been doing it.
The chat says we're still live.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. This is tight.
We're so cordial, though.
Well, it's a show, we gotta be, gotta show face.
It's a little bit behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Even the behind the scenes is cordial.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's all right. It's always it's fun. This is a great time.
Yes.
Man, Andre, you went to the live shows that Peak did, right?
Oh yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. So Paul, of course, you didn't get a chance to experience it, but like for the first 12 or 11 shows we did from I think April of 2019 was our first show, into February of 2020 was the last live show we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always a live show in San Francisco, like in an office space in like downtown San Francisco, like the financial district. And it was in this space that Rich was, the office space he was working in. So, and his office space was cool to let us use the space to do a live show of electronic music, because it was basically like a Serbian company, which makes sense. And it was fun, man. It was great.
You know what first thing that really grabbed me there was like a camera setup. This camera at the top. Remember, there was like a camera that basically gives an overview of the table, and actually kind of like you can see literally what these artists are doing. That you can't really, it's quite rare to see such a setup, but it had this like a ability to really see what's going on. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Apparently I have to do another rap. All right. So Everyone, thanks again for tuning in to Peaked. Stay home, stay safe. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
There it is. All right.